and then log in, log out, and HTTPS, and that should be a day. So Gorilla is, oh, before I do that, on our syllabus, there's a link for setup Atom.io for Go. It'll take you to this document right here. I called it Sublime Setup, Atom Setup. And setting up Atom Editor. And this is great. And so it basically shows you how to get Atom to do everything I've been doing in WebStorm. I didn't put this together. Somebody in my Go class put it together on Udemy. And then they shared it, and I thought that is awesome. So try it out if you're using Atom. And I think that was it for the things to mention in class.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I got the email from Udemy about the event on March 8th.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the other thing. Go for it.
It says that that's only for people who sexually identify as women. So I'm just curious if you're going to that.
Sexually identify as women.
Yep. Do I click enroll now? It'll take you there.
Great. If you're single. I didn't know that.
And only for women.
There's okay.
All right, so that one's only for women. Then check out this one, April 8th and April 7th. I didn't realize that.
Right up there at the top.
Bill's already invited me. Oh, it's free. This one's free?
It's the other one is not. The other one is.
Oh, okay. Well, all my students are going to be confused. I guess that's not the one I'll be going to. But if you're a gal in here and this is free, you need to check this out.
Yeah, the other one's like $800 or something.
Yeah, so what's the other one? Right here, enroll now.
That's $700.
Yeah. What is it? Oh, $6.99, $700. Yeah, but like I know somebody who went through his course twice and got a job as a Go developer. Like they were already working as a developer, but they had 8 days of instruction in Go. That's when it used to be a 4-day course, and then they went to work as a Go developer. It's like, whoa, that's cool. And so, it's a really good time. I don't know what your finances are. That can be a lot of money.
Yeah, and I do have a little bit about this. All of these events, these trainings, GDG, any of that stuff. I mean, you see us wear these GDG shirts, but personally, because I'm a software developer, not a mobile developer, I don't get a whole lot out of these events personally, except for the connections. You never know who you're going to meet. You might meet your future employer there.
Yeah. That's a cool thing. Another thing to add to the resume too, and like me going to these, I made friends with Bill Kennedy, and to me that's huge, right? Because he's like, and then he's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh man, I got to tell Google about that. He told Google about it, and then the guy who's in charge of Go at Google was like, man, I want to talk to you. So we spent like a half hour video chatting about me teaching Go at Fresno State. Because we're one of the first universities nationwide that's teaching Go. And they were like, cool, that's cool. How's it going? We want to know a little bit about it. How are the students liking it? And
San Jose also started Go.
but they also know that I'm like, I don't know, I'm like the analogy that came to mind is like I'm the white guy from America who moved to India and decided he wanted to take up cricket. And then somehow ended up on like some team, But hey, I'm really good at like working hard and like I field the ball okay. I don't know how I ended up playing for the city's team. So yeah, Google also knows I'm a bit of a hack. I've also been wanting to look at this recently. I don't know what the numbers are at or if it's even still up. Oh, that's it. No, that's not it. This is it. There's my class. 747 viewers right now. How many total? 5,200 views. Crazy. Not the best course. I did a very mediocre job on that, unfortunately. What's up? Questions? All right, so Gorilla. So here's Gorilla. I guess I ran out of steam a little bit. I kind of was like, Gorilla Toolkit. So this has a bunch of pre-written code that you could use, and there's like one for sessions. But the problem with using something somebody else wrote is you aren't understanding what's going on, right? The advantage is they took all the time to write it, and they probably have a much greater understanding than you, but you don't necessarily know that. So there's different frameworks out there or pre-written code out there for you to use. So Gorilla is one of them. There's another one, Golang Web Framework. If you look for those, Revel is another one, right? So you can look at that. And Gin Web Framework here, you know, is another one. So I've heard about Gin and Revel and like some of these other ones that are out there. Survey of 5 Go Web Frameworks, the new stack, right? That might be interesting to read. But so we did a little one with Gorilla Sessions, and so you could come in here and you could use different parts of Gorilla, right? So here's a MUX, right? So they have their own URL router. And we'll look later at this one, godoc.org, and search for Schmidt. Nope. Router. And so here's Julian Schmidt HTTP router. So we'll work with that some, and there's some advantages to using that, you know, some pre-written code, right? But Gorilla has its own. Put that over here because I want to read it. Its own MUX right here, its own router and dispatcher. But here we have under sessions, Gorilla Sessions. You could go get this code, and then you could use the code. And then if we look at sessions, first thing I like to look at is just like an index, right? So I'm just looking for an index. And so here we do a new cookie, right? There's a cookie store, like func new cookie, type cookie store. If you have a pointer, func new cookie store. If you have a pointer to a cookie store, you have get, max age, new, save. File system store, multi-air, options, registry, get, save, session. You have a pointer to session, flashes, name, save, store, right? And then you could scroll up and you can kind of look at some examples and see what it does. Package Gorilla provides cookie and file system sessions and infrastructure for custom session backends. You know, blah, 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 blah. Here's an example. Sessions, new cookie store, slice of bytes, something secret, and then that gives us a store. So we're passing in some sort of a salt there for some sort of encryption for things being stored. But it looks like we're storing things in a cookie. Again, not necessarily the best way to do it, you know, but that's how it's being encrypted. And if we look here for HMAC, it's not mentioned. I thought they did HMAC stuff in here. Maybe it's mentioned under their cookie stuff. So secure cookie, fine, HMAC, right? So secure cookie, because their values are validated using HMAC, so they're doing the validation and stuff if you're storing things in a cookie. But with sessions, you know, there's so here we get a store, and then once we have a store, you know, we could do a store get and get the session name, and then we have the session. And so once we have a session, right, so everything that just turned yellow is a session. We could do session values foo is equal to bar, session values 42 is equal to 43, and session save. And then right, it looks like R is the request, and W is the response writer. So it just takes your request response writer. That's kind of backwards. It looks kind of backwards to me. So that would be like the basics of how you use it, and you're just storing things. It looks like this is getting stored in the cookie, right? It's not being stored in the session, but they're taking care of all the encryption and everything for you. Personally, I think you've seen how to do it with HMAC. Do it that way. Maybe look through their code and see if you could understand their code, and see if there's something, you know, that you could add to your own. But they have a little bit of a thing here that if you do use this and you're not using the Gorilla MUX, then you need to do context clear handler, otherwise you'll have a memory leak. when you do HTTP listen and serve. So you do that like this. So that's just one of the things. If you do use this, you got to add that in. So how did we put that together, or how did we use it? So I have that as my import, and then sessions new cookie store gives me my store, and I do store get session to get a session, and I'm not checking my error, which I should be doing if this is production code. And the session
They actually mentioned in their docs that if there's an error and it fails to get your session, they will give you back a blank session. So it is okay to skip the error in this case.
Oh, really?
You might want to have it so you can log that there was some problem, but it's not really needed for actual error handling. They will give you an empty session.
So they've thought through a lot of the details. So then session.values, email, we're storing an email there, right? Just kind of like a map. And we're saving the session, passing in request and response. And then we could do session.values, email and pull out values from a session if it's there. So pretty straightforward, right? But ultimately, there's a feeling of, I don't understand what I'm doing. I'm using somebody else's functions. I don't really understand the fundamentals. And so I really think understanding the fundamentals is important. And that's what happens when you use frameworks or packages or libraries and you don't understand, like, how do I build this myself, right? And so that's why I think like things like bootcrap and jvomit, jQuery are
Question?
detrimental.
Yeah, so the session code, I want to say, the session.stuff, like that is being pulled from Gorilla.
Yeah, correct.
Thing.
Yeah, sessions is the name of it. So I do sessions new cookie store, gives me a store. And then I do store.get, gives me a session. But that all came from sessions, and sessions is the Gorilla.
Okay.
So we're not even going to run it. I'm just going to show you this login, logout deal. So this is a little bit of an example. And again, I would put the little caveat on this that this isn't the best way. So let me grab that caveat from here. Not good practice, caveat. But, you know, showing you how the code works. And the reason this isn't good practice is because this is called logged in and value 0, right? And so we're just going to be storing whether you're logged in or not logged in the cookie. Really what we want to store in the cookie, just a unique ID. That's it. And all of the data about a user should be stored on the server. They're logged in, they're not logged in, stored on the server. And you just use that unique ID to look up their records and see what's the state of their session. Okay?
So normally you use a database, but if you wanted to start right now, you could make a map from string, which should be your UUID, to some struct of user data right now. You all know how to do that, just a plain map. That wouldn't be saved if your server crashed or something, but you could fiddle around with that if you wish to experiment.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So here, just checking the cookie. If there's no cookie, then right, we create one, and the value is 0, and then we check the login. So if the method is post, and that's kind of cool, meaning the form has been posted, right? Because here the method of the form, I flew past it. Method of the form is post when it gets posted. So if the method coming in is post, and that means, okay, the form's been submitted, so let's run this code, give me the password, request form value password, set it equal to variable password. And password is secret. Obviously, everybody in the world does not have the same password. It's just an example. Then we're going to set the logged in value to 1, right? And then if somebody logs out, then we're going to set logged in to 0, and we're going to do max age -1. If you look up the cookie thing, that's bright. And look at cookie. And we look at max age. Int max age equal to 0, less than 0, greater than 0. Less than 0 means delete the cookie now. Okay? And so max age -1 means delete the cookie now. This would be on if it's production code. We're serving HTTPS. And so if they log out, the cookie gets deleted. Then we're going to set the cookie, right? And then we have a variable HTML, which is a string. So we're going to have a couple of situations. One is they are not logged in, cookie value equals 0. That will be what we set the HTML to. Another one is they are logged in, cookie value equals 1. That's what we'll set the HTML to. And then we're going to write our HTML back to our response. So if they're not logged in, cookie value equals 0, we're going to write the form for them to log in. And if they are logged in, we're just going to write log out. Okay? So that's the basics of that. And that's 10. What's up?
You had said earlier that a better way of setting whether or not a person was logged in or not would be to have the cookie be their user. Their
Universally unique ID. That's all you
so
store in
then
the
you would,
cookie.
Say that if user is logged in, you would be able to tell if the cookie has a unique identifier, right?
Well, we just have a universally unique ID in the cookie. They make a request back to us. We get that ID, and we can look and check that against data on the server. And on the server, we could have a field in our data storage, whatever it is, logged in, not logged in, true or false. And then that field can also be influenced by other code and other factors, like, we'll keep the time in another field. And if the time is greater than an hour, they're not logged in anymore. And we're going to change, logged in to false. So we can set how long does a session last for before we automatically log somebody out.
All right, and if you scroll up just a bit, back right there. So if we say that the unique user identifier is the cookie value, then how do we state if the cookie value is equivalent to some unique identifier?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll take that unique ID, and once we've learned how to store data on the server, right? So we'll do that with
like I said, now we could use a map.
we could use a map right now, but once we've learned how to store data on the server, then we could use that unique ID to look up the data on the server for that user and bring that into our code.
Yeah, such as finding out whether or not the user is logged in or not logged in.
Yeah.
So like for right now, you could have a map from string UUID to, then the value would be like a user data struct, which would have whatever you needed.
Right. So instead of having if cookie.value is equivalent to 0, we could have if
It would just be something like
some sort of path is equivalent to something.
it wouldn't even be an if. It would be user data equals data storage UUID. Possibly use the two form, the double form of getting stuff from a map. If you we've seen the something equals the map value. If you do something comma something equals map value, the second thing will be a Boolean: true it existed, false it did not exist.
All right. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's watch it run. Clear all. So logged in, value 0. What's my password? Secret, submit. Logged in, values 1. Log out, no cookie. Back here. Kind of weird that got left up there. As it logged out, I log out and brings me back to here, but didn't clear out that. How would I change that?
Redirect.
What did I do?
Up in the point where you right there, if path is log out, you want your cookie to do that. You'd want to set the cookie, call your set cookie there, and then you'd want to call the redirect.
Request. Is that it?
And return.
Response request URL code. And you would use
I'd use 303, yes.
there we go. And check it. Cool.
It works.
All right, so that's cookies, sessions, and I guess we're going to do HTTPS Wednesday. We are out of time. Who has questions? How many people got their money's worth today? Cool. How many people are excited about web development? How many people feel like it's overwhelming, you want nothing to do with it? One other question I have for you is every year we put on a GDG festival, Google Developer Group Festival. We do that in the fall. The person who has done it is stepping down. So we're not going to be doing it next year unless somebody steps up. And my question for you is if any of you are interested in helping put that together, which would mean like figuring out who's going to speak, what are they going to speak on, inviting people to come up and speak, bringing speakers down from Google. So if you're interested in getting involved and helping make that happen, another thing you could add to your resume, you could be one of the, I don't know, coordinators of the event. Then hang out after class and just sort of let me know, hey, I'd be interested in helping. Because whether or not I take that on depends upon whether or not I have 10 people to help me do stuff. So if you're interested, it's a pretty cool thing. You can see GDG Dev Fest Fresno. And you can see our 2015 Dev Fest. Right, and speakers, you can see the speakers. This website doesn't do well in small resolution, right? But people from Google, different topics. Guy doesn't look too happy. Daniel spoke. That was cool. Yeah, and even if you wanted to present on something, you know, it might be a cool thing. So it's kind of a fun community event, another networking opportunity. So if you're interested in helping out, let me know. Last thing, homework. I don't want to give you gorilla stuff. And log in, log out, I think, isn't an actual example. So I think these are just the 2 homeworks that have been added. And how are you guys doing on homework? Aha, somebody got through it. One person. All right, that was a lot. So you guys have some stuff to work on.